I'm Sir Flowbojan Thunderhammer.
And I'm Teflon Frosthammer.
And I'm Cabbage Tidehammer.
And this
is
WAK.
If Amtgard knighthood means anything, you can't knife a motherfucker and keep it.
And the thing that people need to understand essentially about arts and sciences events is that your scores don't matter.
Do you want a black phoenix or a white phoenix?
Jeez, language, man. We're on a
Nice.
freaking podcast, for fuck's sake.
Mind-blowing experience, right?
Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to WAK, where we discuss topics important to the Amtgard community at large and talk with interesting people from around the foam fighting world. This week, we have on Sir Squire DaPage, soon to be Sir Squire DaPage. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Oh, that sounded weird.
No.
No, sorry. So Flo is kicking it over me to ask the next question because I usually do it. How do you prefer to be referred to first? Because if I have to say Sir, Squire, DaPage.
No. Just call me Squire.
Okay. So, Squire, how did you get into Amtgard to begin with? Or maybe foam fighting is a better question if you started something else first.
No. I started, Amtgard is the only thing I've played. Actually, I started because my nephew, who only comes out occasionally, his name is Icefire, but he's in Neverwinter.
Mm-hmm.
He needed something to get him out of the house. And I was actually going to Hogtown Medieval Fair. That's annual Red Fair here in Gainesville.
This has been mentioned somewhere before. That specific medieval festival, probably by Kazan?
Kazan has mentioned it. Sir Golan has mentioned the Hogtown Fair before. It seems like that is a hub for Amtgard.
Yeah, do we owe them money or something?
No, but way back, we in the early 2000s, we used to have a castle, a wooden castle, and we would sell Gatorade and water, and we would have a game, and it was called I Have a Clue. We would hand out clues, and then there would be the vendors would wear these little pieces of paper, and it said, "I haveth a clue," and the whole game was like the game Clue, and it was there was Robin killed the king with something.
Yeah, in the drawing room with the candlestick, or
yes, kind of like that. And they would have to go around to each vendor, and they would have to ask them, "Can I get your clue?" And sometimes the vendors would have them do something really silly, like spin around on one foot, and they would have a paper, and they would have to circle that at the clue that they got, and they would have to come back to the castle, and we'd have stickers or something silly for them to win the prize.
Yeah.
So we would play that, and we were the only free game back then for them to play at this Ren Fair. So I started by bringing my nephew out to the Ren Fair, and then I got him involved with the Amtgard, and I took him out to the park a couple of times. It was like, here. I mean, he wasn't young. He was in his 20s. Mm-hmm. I'm like, here, go have fun. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, I watched a few times. I'm like, that sounds like fun, but I was taught not to hit people.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something you don't do. So I'm a very vocal person. I'm very extroverted, and I'm very social. I know you can't tell by that at all.
Yeah, right.
And it was coming up on the big Gainesville event, which is called Harvest Feast back then. And my nephew really wanted to go. So I took him, and I said, I'll hang out, because one of the members here, who is actually my roommate now, who is known as Count Hawk, was doing the food. And so I stayed in the kitchen, and I helped him. And then I came back on Saturday, and I helped him some more. And actually, that is when Dame Lily Sumac got married. at an Amp Guard wedding.
Holy shit.
And I just kind of started going and being social. And then I would start fighting, and I would fight like this with my eyes closed.
Right.
And actually, I was belted to Dame Lily before she got knighted. And that's how I got my last name. I was a page first. That's where DaPage came from.
I was going to say, were you originally just Page and then Man-at-Arms, DaPage, and then Squire,
Well, my
DaPage?
original name was Lorelei.
Oh, wow.
And so I, when Dame Lily became a knight, there was things that happened, and we just parted ways.
Sure.
But at that time, she got knighted, and I became a squire. So then I was a squire without a knight. And me being social and vocal, I announced to Falling Fire and Darkwater. At that time, it was Darkwater East and a couple other places. I'm like, okay, I'm a squire without a knight. I need people to. I need knights.
Yeah.
I'll be conducting interviews.
Yeah, somebody
Yes,
step up, or this red belt looks weird.
The funny thing is how I became a page. I was new to this game. I didn't play D&D. I didn't do any of those things. I knew nothing. So I wanted to be belted to someone. I'm a business person. I do financial stuff. I've worked for a long time. The way you get a job is to have a resume. I filled an Amp Guard resume out. And I handed it to Lily. I'm like, you said you wanted a page. Here's my resume. I think I would make a good page for you. And she was like, that's actually quite funny, but cool. Okay, I'll get you a belt. And she showed Bjorn, and she's like, look, she gave me a resume.
Jesus.
That's awesome.
No one's ever done that before.
I'd love to see an Amp Guard resume nowadays, like a cover letter and everything else on it. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then I moved up. I never was a man-at-arms until for a while. So then I was a squire without a knight. So actually I had two people that was interested. That was Stinkfoot and Sir Joy, who doesn't play anymore.
Well, you dodged a bullet
Both
with
from-
Stinkfoot, so it's fine.
No.
So
No.
No.
Oh, shit.
I chose Stinkfoot, actually.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time. He's our Grand Knight, I guess his knight.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually
Yes.
we are extended belt siblings.
Belt, Yep. We
Here.
were belt belt siblings for a
Yes.
while.
Nice.
Hey, Squire, the cord has moved down over your mic and pulled it down away from your face a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Is that better?
Perfect.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
All right.
much better.
So, in between those times, because I actually started in November of 2001. November 2001, and in between that time, I was Kazan's chancellor for our park in Gainesville here. When he was a Grand Duke, I was the chancellor for our Grand Duchy.
And to give I was going to say, to give a quick throwback here, this, for those that remember the Kazan episode from a million years ago, this is when that group had, 60, 70, 80 people a week.
Yeah.
Playing, not just on the register. That was actually, we fielded that many.
I can only imagine how fun that would be.
It was so much fun. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, we even played in the woods. I wouldn't go in the woods now, but absolutely not. But I mean, we had battle games, and Falling Fire would come up and raid us constantly. We did not have a good rapport with Falling Fire. they were the stick jocks, and that was a bad word back then.
Right.
And we had more role playing people.
I see. Okay.
So now one last question for you about this origin story for you. The name Squire, like you were a squire, right? And DaPage part makes sense. Please tell me that this came from Stinkfoot just yelling Squire.
Yes, actually, it was when he was king during his pimp reign.
Yes, I remember.
His pimp reign. He was giving out awards, and he always told me he didn't like the name Lorelei, and I got it from a fairy book. Right. I love the name Lorelei, but he was looking at an award, and even though it said Lorelei on the award, he would look at it, he'd look up, and he'd go, Squire. And
like, I'm not reading that.
He didn't. And everything after that was Squire, or Squire squared. So I became Squire. Most of the time, most people snapped when they did it.
Is
so
that
I
still
became
tradition?
Squire.
Should people still do the snap?
No, because a lot of times I didn't answer.
Perfect.
Not to the snap. No.
I was going to say, nobody likes being snapped at, so I was going to be a little confused.
Yeah, no. So I became Squire squared, or Squire for the longest time, until right before, in the year of 2010, when I got my Master Rose, and it was decided that I would be knighted. January of 2011. So we were sitting around actually Stinkfoot's house, apartment, and they were like, okay, well, what do you want to be called? Do you want it to be sir or dame? And I'm like, I'm not going to be a dame. I'm sorry. It doesn't sound right, especially since you killed off Lorelei. You've just killed her off. No one calls me Lorelei. So you killed her off. So he's like, you got to be Sir Squire. You just got to be.
Yeah.
So it became Sir Squire. So at the knighting, somebody's like, well, were you ever a man at arms? And Nocturne goes, I'll make you a man at arms. Just even if it's 5 minutes. So I was a man at arms for 5 whole minutes. So I don't really put it on anything, but the full name is Sir Squire Man at Arms DaPage.
That's awesome.
Or DaPage, if you want to say it French.
Real fancy.
If you call it Target instead of Target, then you can call it DaPage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha. So is there an alternate universe where if Lorelei hadn't been killed off, that you might have been Dame Lorelei instead of Sir Lorelei?
No.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. I just thought it'd be worth chasing down.
Yeah, no.
And I want to give a shout out here too, because you have actually had some beltlings underneath you that have graduated to knighthood as well. I think that you had one. This was just
Evie.
Recently.
Evie, yeah, she got knighted for flame in the year 2020, and we had to do her knighting as one of the first in Neverwinter. Actually, it was a
virtual knighting.
Virtual. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. It was a virtual knighting. Now I was there because I had somebody had to be there, and but everybody that was there was either in her household, that lived in her house.
Yeah.
And me. That was the only. And I was 6 feet away as much as I could be.
Mm-hmm. It was actually kind of fun because all of the knights were there too, and when we do the bridge, we turned our cameras on and just held our swords up to the cameras.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. It was really
And
really
it's
cool.
also her mom had cancer and has since passed, and she really, and that was another reason, she really didn't want to be virtually knighted, but she wanted her mom to be there.
Oh, I gotcha.
And she didn't have very long. And so I said, I'll do whatever I have to make sure your mom would be there for you.
That's really cool.
We had, I had a bigger laptop and then a couple of smaller laptops so that we could have people, so we could have
I love
multiple.
That's awesome.
and then we had somebody filming it so she could have it. So
I think that was
her
was
mom
that
got
streamed?
to.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
Yeah,
like
and
video
it was
of that.
streamed.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so, like I said, her mom was able to be there, and I had her mom involved in the knighting.
That's
also.
awesome.
That's cool.
That's really
So-
cool. So
I'm sorry. I just imagine pointing all the laptops towards each other to make the Knight's Tunnel.
Yeah.
And
If I
walking
had
through it.
more laptops, that would have been like the ideal. You could have a laptop for each night. Yeah. that
Yeah,
would
just
have
a
been
Zoom
cool.
session with the Knight pointing at the camera, and then
Ah, see, I wish I would have thought of that at the time.
yeah, the upfront cost on all the laptops wouldn't have been worth it
Yeah.
long term.
No, we just could have had like extra people. Like, here, borrow my laptop for that time.
Yeah.
I did go around and like gather all the gifts that people, like I had people like send them, or I'll meet you. And I met Kelly,
Alona?
Alona, yeah.
Alona, thank you. Couldn't think of her Afghan name. I met her like down on the south side of Ocala.
Uh-huh.
So I met her like halfway so she could give me the scroll. And then I like did so much driving so that I could get all of her gifts taken care of beforehand.
that's
awesome.
really cool.
That's really cool. Especially like especially during the pandemic when it was too. It almost is like, swapping a briefcase in the park. Like you set the scroll,
It
set the
was
scroll
in the
down, walk
parking-
away,
Yep,
and then
it was like the parking lot of a restaurant. Actually, is what we did here.
you just sit on the
mass-
bench. Nice weather we're having, and you leave the
Yes.
briefcase and walk away.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I had one vaccination by that time. I had my first vaccination by
Yeah.
that time. So, because I work for the county, it wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't a choice at the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
I remembered when we went down for Stinkfoot's third belt. I was walking around with my axe, and Robin
Oh God.
kind of slowly comes over to me. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, Flo? I'm doing great. It's a great day out here. It's illegal to have weapons in any park in the state of Florida." And I said, "That's really, really interesting. I didn't know that." And I'm still sitting here twirling the axe around. And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, like, people have been arrested for it. And I mean, it's like super illegal." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll keep that in mind." And I'm totally oblivious. There's... And I'm turning to Cabbage. I'm like, "Hey, could you hold this for a sec?" And he
Didn't
looks at
tell me
and
why.
goes, "No."
No, that's not at all how it happened. You went, "Hey, can you hold this for me for a little bit?" And I
Yeah,
was
and
like,
I
"Oh
shoved
yeah,
it in
sure.
your hands.
You've got
That's true.
night stuff to do." So I'm just standing here holding an axe, like, this is fine. And then somebody comes by and they're like, "Hey, you may want to keep that low. You're not allowed to have that here." I'm like, "Oh fuck, that's why he pawned it off on me." Like, and I'm like close to my side, but then the problem there is I'm holding the axe close to my side, and every child that runs by is head height with this axe, and I'm like, "Oh god, oh god,
Yep.
oh god."
Pat had already jokingly just like tapped it against my arm and split my
Yeah.
like just
Those
tapping
things are
it.
sharp.
Yeah.
They're razor blades, dude.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah, that's why we knighted him with spoons.
I like
yeah.
that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
well,
good
and
choice on that
and-
one.
And he's the spoon guy too. He would have spoons.
there was a reason behind that actually. He at Fiddle's knighting, he didn't have a sword. So he pulled a spoon out. Not a fork. I mean, not a knife, not a plastic knife. He pulled a plastic spoon out and held a spoon up. So I
That's
thought it was
awesome.
only right.
Yeah.
So I sent a picture to Fiddles
Perfect.
and she laughed hysterically.
That's awesome.
Come to think of it, Pat does have quite a bit in common with the tick.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to elaborate.
That was his battle cry was spoon.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Robin, you mentioned in
Yes.
2001 you get in, or Squire, you mentioned in 2001
That's
when you
okay.
get in, and the first thing that you do at the very first event that you do is you go help out in the kitchen with the person that is now your roommate. You end up getting your flame belt in 2011.
10 years later.
10 years later.
Well, 9. We'll figure 9 because it was more like 9 years later.
Fair. You also mentioned while you were kind of telling that story that you were also taking office at the time, that you were Kazan's chancellor too. So was your work in flame type service and crown type service all fairly early in your career? Did you start those pretty much from the beginning?
I did. Yeah, that's where my forte is. I'm not a fighter. I'm more of the organizer, office holder. I mean, I was queen for a year, so for 2 sessions, and I was kingdom regent for 3, but I'll only count 2 because one of them was really bad. And I'll admit to it because that's when my ex now had left me, so it really sucked bad. And I had surgery, so I was on really good drugs. Really good drugs.
You mentioned like running around in the woods when you had first started, and the first thing that came to mind was a conversation you and I had a long time ago. Don't you remember how nice it was when we had knees?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are... I got injections today, so they're really good right now. For a few months. So, and I was KPM for, oh gosh, that's one of my favorite offices. So
mine too.
Really?
Uh-huh.
With all the stuff a KPM has to do, it seems like one of the worst gets you can run into.
I'm a number person.
Fair.
So it's the easiest job for me.
That's fair.
Regent is probably one of the harder jobs for me.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
So I was KPM at least 3 years, maybe 3.5.
Not 3
that
terms,
I can recall.
but 3 years.
Yeah, not succession, but yeah.
Damn. So do you find
But
yourself...
I've been playing for 20 years.
Yeah.
But I've been local chancellor too, and now I'm local monarch, and this is my second session. So I've been in local monarch for a year.
Oh wow.
It's funny. We've talked about this a couple of times on the show before, but the 2 service belts, Flame and Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Often when someone is high in one of them, they are also relatively high in the other one. And I think that your journey probably mirrors that pretty closely.
Yeah. And it's funny, actually, I qualified for my crown before I qualified for my flame.
So you've been qualled for your crown for over 10 years now.
So, okay, the question then is like, what took so long to recognize you for that particular path? Just politicking, or okay, yeah, that's fair.
I'll say it. I'll say the jingle. Neverwinter, never nights.
Okay. Well, I mean,
it's hard to use that jingle when we're talking to Sir Squire.
Yeah.
Squire.
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's a matter sometimes of we're trying to get recognize the more of the up and comers than the ones that already have a belt. Mm-hmm. And then you get into politics. Mm-hmm. You get into the ones that are more vocal.
Sure.
I play the game because I like to have fun. I play the game because I'm very social. I have made more friends, and people not just that I call friends, not the acquaintances that you go, hey,
right.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here. But people that I would invite to my house and people that I would go to their house, those kind of people in this game than I have in my many years of life.
Yeah.
So, and yes, do I like accolades? I'd be a liar if I said I don't.
Right.
Do I want to be noticed for the things that I do? Oh, yes, of course I do. Mm-hmm. Awards are wonderful. And a lot of people don't get recognized for the things that they do. It is hard being a monarch and be aware of everything that gets done.
Yes, Flo, it is hard. If you're looking to us for confirmation, yes, it's difficult.
And to be aware, and it's hard because you have this group saying, these people are wonderful. And you're going, when?
Yeah.
I've been to their park. They weren't even there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sometimes it's hard because you have people of like minds that hang out in their park, that know each other, that are friends, that are family, that are all of this, and they see all of these things that are being done, and they want to raise their people up. They want to raise their belted people up. They want to raise their close friends up, but they're blinded. They have these blinders on. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to tell them no, or it's hard to explain to them, we're raising them as quickly as we can, but you can't give somebody 4 or 5 awards for the same thing. You can't really give them, or you shouldn't give them 4 or 5 awards for the same thing. Mm-hmm. So yes, we're making nights as quickly as we can, but in Neverwinter, I don't know how it is in Winter's Edge, but we have a discussion of the difference between a master and a knight.
It gets brought up sometimes.
There is a difference between somebody who's a master in their field and somebody who's a knight.
Mm-hmm. What is that difference? Just out of curiosity. I mean,
somebody
I'm sure...
who is knightly. Mm-hmm. To be knightly, I mean, you can be a master in your field and be a total asshole, and be a total jerk off, and that. Excuse my language, but and I know some people have used worse. I understand.
There is a swear in the opening to this podcast.
Yes, I know. And what I mean by that is, if you don't want to teach and you don't want to share your information of how you became a master, and you don't want to, and this is my secret, you can't have that. Mm-hmm. Then you're a master at that. You're a master in your field. More power to you. I love you. Great. I love your item.
Yep.
I love what you do. You're not a knight.
This mirrors a discussion that Teflon, I don't know if you were in the car, but on the way to the Booker T event in February, Flo, it was me, Flo, Lauren. Who else was in the car? I mean, maybe it was just us 3.
No, there was more people, but I don't remember.
We were having a discussion about, what separates a master and a knight, and I think Vidalia made the point, and then we all kind of synthesized on that it's, your ability to make more knights after you are uplifted,
and
right?
that's the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, like that was kind of what we had boiled it down to is, are you going to give back to the game? Are you going to try to make more knights in your stead to keep the game growing and everything else? And that's where we all kind of landed that we could agree on. So yeah,
yes.
No disagreement
and that's
here.
kind of the same thing, is if you're willing to share the information of how you got to there, yeah, that's awesome. That's what becomes a knight. I don't mean being an asshole in the sense that your personality is an asshole. That's just some people. But if you don't want to share what you... I don't think so. I don't think so, Cabbage.
Fair enough.
At least you've never been that way to me. You may be that way to some people.
I mean, first thing of being Monarch, right, is you can't make everybody happy. So to some people, I'm an asshole. I'm doing my best.
Do you know what?
Catch him in about 10.
Life.
Yeah, right. Catch him at about 10 o'clock at an event.
Bless
and
you.
He'll have been drinking by then. And then
the one time.
I have seen him drunk, though.
Yeah.
I have seen him drunk.
Okay,
Yeah,
the
that's true.
two times.
he is.
But he wasn't an asshole then.
No, he's kind of a fun drunk.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that was the night before Stinkfoot's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cabbage is kind of a lampshade on the head, sort of dancing on the table, sort of drunk.
Fun. So was Fidelia, though.
Yeah. No. The Flo walked up to me at a bar one night, and he was again making more nights, that kind of thing, and Flo walked up to me and said, "You want to know how I got this belt?" And I said, "Flo, you've had too much to drink," and then we had more drinks.
It's how we met.
Do you know that
I lived in your house?
Flo, do you know that your knight thought that you would be a perma squire for him?
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so disappointed in you.
Oh yeah, he said he called me when the announcement went up. Well, Baron was our king at the time. He unfortunately had to step down for some personal stuff that had happened. But he was our king, and he was the one that put the announcement up on the page. And it was 12:30 or so at night that night, and Stinkfoot calls me and he said, you had one, in this exact tone, I'll never forget it, you said, you had one fucking job. How could you fail at doing nothing? That is all I ask, was that you don't do anything. You could be a perma-squire, and all you had to do was nothing. I'm so disappointed in you.
I called
Congratulations.
him and I said, did you see the post? Did you see the post? Did you see the post? And he's like, what post? I said, they're knighting Flo. And he goes, what? And I said, they're going to knight Flo. And he's like, I'm calling him. And that's what he said. He had one job. One job. And I said, aren't you happy? Well, of course I'm happy, but he had one job.
It's the principle of
all
the
he
thing.
had to do was be my perma-squire. That's all he had to do.
He found a new perma-squire.
I was about to ask, did he find a new one?
Yeah, he found a new perma-squire.
Well, he had him.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Zoltan.
Zoltan, yeah.
Ah, right.
Zoltan.
I was so happy to see him come back out.
I know.
Yeah, you don't listen to this podcast at all, Zoltan, but shout out to you for starting to come back out.
Is he actually coming back out with some regularity, or was it just for that
No.
night?
Events.
Okay. Nah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
he's come out
Yeah.
to a couple of different events, but it was good to see him again.
Yes, it was. It was very good to see him. He was the elf king.
He
I
was.
talked into being monarch of Neverwinter. He hated every moment
Yeah, that was so
of
we
being the elf king.
we bumped into him and we're like, so I mean, I know that you had, you've been spending a lot more time with your family, you had some real life stuff going on, but why did you leave? He said, have you ever been monarch, Flo? I said, no, I've never been monarch. And he goes, you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, he left right after he was elf king. Right after he was like, I'm done. No,
Hand
done.
the crown off, get in the car, go.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm done.
So, when you were getting into doing your service stuff, what types of things were you doing? We hear a lot of commonality with like, hey, I helped out in the kitchen and that was one of the first places, or I picked up trash, or I picked up a crap position. What were some of the things that you like to do to help out around the kingdom?
Crap positions were a big thing. Back at that time, Neverwinter was shrinking.
I remember.
So, and back then too, we did things way different than we do now. When you did food, you did all 5 meals. And we had 5 meals back then. We had Friday, Saturday, the 3 on Saturday, and then you had Sunday. And Sunday was just take all the leftovers from the whole weekend and set them out and say, eat them or they're being thrown away. But we also didn't have to be out of off site until 1 or 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So we had time to do that. But so being foodcrat or being feastocrat back then, we taught feastocrat everything. That covered all the meals, not just the feast. That was feastocrat meant you did all the food.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did that. Gatecrat, I did pretty much everything. I love cabin crat because I like to spoil. I was spoiled, or I am. Let me rephrase that. I am spoiled as a child. My mother still spoils me. She's 94 years old.
Oh, wow.
Thank goodness she doesn't listen to these things. She would kill me. She'd yell at me for telling people her age, but she's still very spry and very kicking. But she still spoils me. So I like to spoil my friends and spoil the people. So being cabin crat, we leave. I still, when I'm cabin crat now, I leave little, I do one of 2 things. I either leave a big bag in the cabin for everyone in the cabin, or I do individual bags. And in the bags are usually things like hand sanitizer, like you get little soaps in the hotels, little hand soaps, candy.
Stuff that people forget.
or stuff that, sometimes like that. So one year I did little shampoo and little conditioners.
Yeah. Yep.
You're a saint.
Oh, shit.
One year I did toothbrushes and little toothpastes. Just little things. Sometimes I do stickers. Sometimes I do bubbles. Sometimes I just do things that are entertaining. But sometimes it's just something to make you go, oh, look, I got a surprise.
That's
So,
awesome.
and I like doing door signs. I know it sounds silly, but depending on what the rain is, or depending on if it's a nighting, will depend. Like for Gilly's nighting, she likes wings, or she likes fairies. So on the doors were pages that had wings of some sort. And if it was Teflon, if you rented the cabin room, it had Teflon, and then it would be some type of wing.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was theme related.
Yeah, and I want to highlight that for just a moment too, because it's super, super useful for the people that are traveling down. There were plenty of times that I came down and I said, hey, where's my cabin? And they said, go, it's right over that way. And all I had to do was look for the cabin that said Triad, or look for the cabin that said, Knoxville Group, or whatever we had signed up as that time. You didn't have this whole thing of, okay, I'm in cabin 13. Hold on, let me pull out my secret decoder ring, and we'll flip that around, and we'll check it against the Cracker Jack box to see what's going on.
Right, and it's around the bend and through, and I have to go to the west and up and over the hill. Yeah. So.
You ever just sleep in somebody else's bunk until they find where you're supposed to go? Because I've been that tired before.
Yeah, there have been some people that do that, but I try not to. I know that for Goose's nighting, everything was done in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. And Lady J was the cabin crat. So she tried to do, I'm not sure, they looked like masks. They were colored pieces across for masks.
Yeah.
And actually, she and I both went for it. And I actually had an idea. I gave it to her, but she wasn't able to. I was going to put I'm literally going to buy pizza boxes and put pizza boxes with the names on it.
We just recently gave an award out to someone that who they didn't have anything else to hand an award out, so they used a pizza box to write someone an award. And so when this person was getting an award, our current monarch, Teflon, gave it to them in a pizza box, and when they opened it up, it was macaroni that had been glued onto the pizza box.
I love it.
It was so much better than that, though. Like, you got it, because, so, it was Clover. This award's been given out. We can talk about it now. But we gave, Teflon gave Clover some awards, and again, he was messing with Clover. So with these pizza boxes, they were Domino's boxes with the awards in them, and they were stashed in the kitchen. And so as Clover gets called up for his award, the feastcrat who's back there doing dishes stomps out, and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I made all this food for you guys, and somebody ordered Domino's? And I mean, stops court dead.
Yeah,
and
everyone goes silent, because you don't piss the cook off, right? That's the number one rule at Amp.
I mean,
you don't piss the cook off.
Like, people are like, oh, he's pissed. Like, oh, what are we going to do, And he's like, who's a C lover? Instead of Clover. And then, Clover starts to realize, like, oh, they're messing with me. Okay, so he brings up But it stopped court for a solid 30 seconds while everybody freaked out. It. Yeah.
I mean, but those are awards that are special. I mean, that's really kind of cool to get to have that and to see that and have it done in a pizza box. I mean, that's.
Yeah. It was just the pizza boxes that made us tangent, because this is fairly recent.
Yes.
One of the things that I remember coming up, because we went down to so many Neverwinter events too, and I was there when you were in a lot of these different crap positions, is we've talked several times on the show about, I'd like to get my flame belt someday, and what do I do to get that, and different ways that you can start out. And it all boils down to just going up and asking, hey, what can I do to help? One of the things that I always thought was a lot of fun is people would inevitably come up and say, do you need any help with anything? And Squire's response was always, "We're always looking for cheap labor," and I can find something for anybody to do, and would send them out to help with the person that was running battle games or what sounds fun to you. You want to be outside or you want to be inside? So keep that in mind when you're going to these events. If you get tired and you need to come inside for just a moment, but you don't necessarily need to sit down, it's just Florida and 1,006 degrees in the shade, or you're in one of the places where you just need to get out of the sun for a sec, see if you can, go empty a trash can or something like that. Little things like that can make it so much easier for the people that are running the event, and they really, really do appreciate it.
They do, seriously. And they're always looking not for somebody just to come up and say, do you need help? But to say, oh, look, there's a trash can. Let me take it out. Or let me sweep the floor because it's really nasty here. And I know we're about to do feast. And it's just a matter of being conscientious of your surroundings. Treat your surroundings like you do your home. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's true because just coming up to you, if Squire is autocrating an event, you come up and say, what can I help with? Squire may not know at that exact moment what needs to be done, but if you've been looking around and say, hey, Squire, I noticed that this trash can is full. I want to take it out for you. Where's a replacement trash bag? Squire can probably point you and say, hey,
yes.
Okay, I know where that is, right? You're providing, you're helping, noticing something and then also providing a solution for it, right?
Oh, most definitely. And the funny thing is sitting at gate, chatting with someone, even if you're not helping with gate, really does help the people that are at gate pass the time.
Yeah.
I mean, for people that are at gate, it's a matter of feast or famine. You get this huge rush of people, and then there's no one. And then you get this huge rush of people, and then there's no one for 2 or 3 hours. And sometimes if there's only 2 of you up there, sometimes you run out of things to say. Especially if you're an extrovert with an introvert. It's like I talk to myself.
Yeah. And a pro tip for people who are interested in doing this, usually the people at gate have the good snacks. So
they do.
Yeah. We have found that to be at gate. Now, when I run gate, whoever comes up, and even if you just come up and chat, I usually have a raffle for people that are at gate.
Nice.
That seems to have gone over well with a lot of gate people. They'll do that. And what I do is I'm a shopper. I have a problem. I'm a shopaholic. I'm not showing you that part of the room on purpose. Right now, you can kind of see this fabric. This is the stuff that we go through a lot. That doesn't include the stuff that's in the closet. So I usually have stuff that I know. I look at it and I go, yeah, I'm not going to use that anytime soon. Let's find a box.
Perfect.
I have actually 2 totes worth of, oh, look, this will make a good raffle.
Nice.
And my roommate goes, yes, ship it out. We have a whole garage full of that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Holy
Nice.
shit. That's cool.
Yeah. And then I get people like Stinkfoot to donate a sword.
Right.
Stinkfoot, you want to donate a sword, don't you? Give me a sword. So, and that also, as a kingdom, I don't know if you guys do this, but a lot of times we'll do that at events, smaller events, and that is have a raffle. I mean, we get the younger ones. This is a little hint. We get the younger ones to go around and sell the tickets. Do you remember when the twins would come to the events?
Yes.
Yeah.
They sold a lot of raffle tickets.
Never underestimate a child's ability to haggle.
Right.
I learned that at this last event. That was funny as hell.
We got so much raffle tickets sold because the innocence of a child to go, you can get an arm length. Now, their arms are not that long. an arm length is $10, and they go like this, and you're not getting that many.
Yeah, it's 10 tickets or something.
Yeah.
So I just told a lot of people that. Wait a minute. But anyway, but and so that's always works and you get people like that make weapons and do stuff like that, and it doesn't cost that much to donate a weapon into a raffle and stuff.
So you've done a lot of stuff on the Kingdom level, but you've actually, your service to the game hasn't stopped at Kingdom either, right? Like you've actually done some work for AI, right?
Yes, I am actually AI's HR. Try saying that fast. I have taken on actually a lot of HR, a lot of AI's kind of stepped back a little bit, but we're gearing back up. There's a bunch of positions that are open that need to be filled for AI, and they're all volunteer positions. There's things for I wasn't prepared for that.
No, you're fine.
Oops.
Got her.
We have a lot of, I know we have a lot of positions open. I know there's advertising open. I know that fundraising is open.
Mm-hmm.
I know that diversity is open, and I'm trying to remember which area for diversity is open.
I was going to say, aren't there regional like diversity and inclusion?
But there's a bunch. There's two or three regions that are open for diversity.
Okay.
But there's quite a few positions that are open because there are people like moving and have just been on there for so long and they want to go and do other things. So
Right.
Now that holidays and winter, winter for some places like Nine Blades.
Mm-hmm.
Is really rough. So they're getting into being thawed.
Right.
Or frozen. So things are gearing back up. So if you want to go to the AmpGuard, is it ampguard.com?
Yeah, it's just ampguard.com.
Thank you. I was like, is it .org? I deal with .org at work so much that I forget the two. ampguard.com, and under volunteers, there's a whole thing, and that's where you get to do a resume.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
AmpGuard resume.
Nice.
There you go.
So, and then you actually get you do an interview, and most of them are either type or they're a video interview.
Nice.
And that's my part of it, is to try to make sure we don't ask questions that we really shouldn't be asking.
Right.
Because I have a bachelor's degree in HR.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I'm in that aspect of it, is to help to make sure that we're not asking questions that we're not supposed to be going down that road.
It's funny too, because someone can ask a question and not mean it in a bad way, just not understand that that's not an appropriate question to ask, right?
Right.
Like our boss, not Zeb, but our boss. Where do you go to church? You can't ask that. You must not ask that question.
No.
Take it back.
So we discuss all the questions that are asked beforehand. I have actually a whole pool of questions that they can pick from that are all they actually come from my HR department. So to try to get them, and then they have questions that I look at and go, yeah, those are all good. You're good on those. And then they ask these questions that are somewhat more relevant to maybe the area that they're looking for. In fact, I even helped the V9 group because they were looking for some illustrators. And I was trying to work with Woon Zhao to get the question, or to get some illustrators. He wanted to put out some information.
That's cool.
To get some illustrators, and I'm like, okay, and I'll help you with that. I'll be happy to get some to get you more elevated to that area.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, and that's really just what he wanted me for on the illustration part of because I guess we're going to have all new pictures for V9 too.
I'm okay with that. Some of the ones in the rulebook now are a little bit Microsoft clip art. Yeah.
Do we still have any of the old Dagahir
No.
rulebook pictures in there?
I don't think so.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they won't be probably in the new one because they're going to try. He's going to try to make sure that they're all the same. So they're all going to be
Like the same style.
the same style. Thank you. Yeah, the same style. And then they're going to cover all aspects, male, female, non-gender kind of aspects. And then they're also going to cover, if you have a weapon over here, it's going to kind of transcend into where it should be.
Oh, that's cool.
Down the book too. So hopefully it's going to be more congruent.
That would
So
be
it doesn't look like it's piecemealed together.
I mean, no shame to the people who put those original images together. Like that is
No.
still valuable. But I mean, y'all
It's
were doing
very
it on
valuable.
punch cards at the time. We got Photoshop now.
I was just going to say we're in V8 now. So I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking 20 years ago
Yeah, exactly.
That is how
to 30 years ago.
that is how Robin and I used to sign into AmpGuard. We'd go over to the clock and put our card down in and dook, and then
Honestly, if it takes some load off the local PM, I might be
I'm
for
down
it.
for it.
Okay. We tried something here and I know that Danny posted something to your thing
Yeah.
about the I don't have
NFC.
my keys here. I could have showed you. And actually they work great. The problem, my problem, and me being on the board at the time that those were presented, I didn't think of it at all at the time, is there's no sign-in that's associated to that.
Uh-huh.
They work great. Back of the phone, like this, with Orc up, signs right into Orc. All they have to do is tell you what class, put the class in, you're done.
Yep.
But there's no physical sign-in
so this is where
anywhere.
This can be a problem when you're doing like sign-ins, like park elevations, that kind of thing. Because we still mandate a physical sign-in. I think in Winter's Edge we've mostly waived that. Like it's still in our rule book, but Monarchs usually go, "Hey, we're gonna just if you
I
did."
don't think I think we did take it out.
Did we? Okay, because
Yeah.
I know at one point it came
And it
up
may
as an
work
issue.
for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a long time ago. I did the QR codes as keychains. So I just like printed them out, set them in a little keychain photo thing, and slotted it in.
Well,
Those
these
weren't perfect though.
These I can't remember what they're called.
NFC, I think.
Yeah,
NFC. They work great then because you can code them to a specific player, and then you can recode them if that player, decides not to play or whatever. If you get it back, you get it back.
Big if. Those are also a little more waterproof. The problem we ran into with the keychains was they weren't perfectly water sealed. So like, you keep your keys in your pocket, you sweat, and then the paper in it.
These I think are. I mean, they're harder plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little passive radio antenna. So even if it gets wet, like the circuitry, it's not going to hurt.
I mean, this is one of those things where if this got wholesale adopted on a Kingdom, I remember that Baron had an idea for something like this a while back. If this got adopted wholesale on or whole cloth on a Kingdom thing, I would be fine if someone was like, "Hey, you can sign in normally, or if you want this, it's like a one-time cost of $10." And basically, what you're doing is we don't expect to get this back from you, right? I'm not going to ask for this back from you.
Hey,
if
look,
you quit.
that's your dues for the whatever time.
Yeah,
So-
you got it.
Since it's been brought up, I've actually ordered some of those for the park specifically for Beefy to give out to people who are dues paid.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Like all I'm waiting for them to come in.
Am I still dues paid?
Hell if I know. That's Beefy.
He should be because it should have carried over from the time in office.
Right. What?
No,
What?
Flo hasn't been in office in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say.
I tried, Flo.
Yeah, thanks.
I tried,
I ran
Flo.
I
had your back.
Yeah.
Does
Had your back.
GMC okay count as being in
No.
office? No, it doesn't. Okay.
And no,
Damn.
we tried.
I tried.
So I wanted to ask. Early on, I was going to ask the question of, you have this Master Crown that you're soon to be knighted for, and you have your knighthood.
Less than 2 weeks. I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome.
Had to throw that in.
I guess by the time this episode comes out, you may already have been knighted. I don't know what our schedule looks like, but And my question was originally going to be, do you still partake in those things? But I think the answer to that has been yes all around the board. Your monarch at your local park. My microphone decided to leave. I don't know where that bolt is. So your monarch,
mint.
Yeah, right. Your monarch at your local park. So you still do this stuff today. Looking back on your Amtgard career, resumes and all that. We'll call it an Amtgard career. What's the biggest takeaway that you've learned for either of these things, for service or for leadership? What's your biggest lesson that you learned through all of that?
Don't take things to heart so much.
Damn.
Fair.
Yeah, that's good. Where were you a year and a half ago?
Oh, it took me a long time to realize that. It took plenty of tears, plenty of throwing things around the room, stomping my feet, screaming, yelling to my friends, swearing I was going to quit, but I never did. Swearing I was going to take a step back, but I've never done that. But it's just a matter of just don't take it to heart. It's a game, and it's I used to hate when people would say that. But it is. It's a hobby. It's a game. It's something I enjoy. If I don't enjoy it, I either have to find my joy, or I need to quit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all of those 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. I had to think about that for a second. All those 20 years, anytime I didn't find my joy, I had to take an internal step back and go, where is my joy? Okay, I'm going to go do this now.
Right. Yeah.
This is not joy anymore. I'm going over here now. These people are joy. This activity is joy. You are not anymore. Sorry. And that didn't verbalize that to people.
Right.
I'm just like, I had to go, okay, blank. No, too much stress. No. I'm going over here now. And some of that was face to face with my knight and him going, why? Why? Why are you letting it bother you? Why are you letting it get to you? Why are you letting them get to you? Why are you letting any of this affect you? Find your happy. I think it was happy for him. Find your happy and do that. Do what makes you happy in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can stick with that. That's actually really good advice. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sorry. You're welcome.
No, it's fine. We are running up to that point of our show where we ask you for your craziest, most memorable, funniest, wildest story in Amtgard, with the caveat that story is legal to repeat on air. So,
okay, I have to because of where I work.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. If you need time, I can fill some time for you because
the happiest, funniest, most nerve-wracking kind of all culminates into my first knighting. Okay. Part of that was because I asked Stinkfoot to lower the sword, and his first response was no.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what?
What'd I do wrong?
No. And he's like, no, I'm too nervous. No, I can't do it. No. I'm like, and I actually had, my eyes welded up and I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, but you have to, and of course I'm a girl, you have to. I'm like going through all this personal, horrendous crap with my ex-husband. He wasn't my ex at the time. And I'm like, but you have to. And so he broke down and said yes. And he was as nervous as he was with yours.
I was going to say he was super nervous for Flo, so I can
about
only
to
imagine.
Say.
Yeah.
I think I've seen this before.
He was as nervous with his. Mine, afterwards, before I get to it, afterwards, people would come up to me and go, I can't believe that was so disrespectful he was to you. Because mine was like Catholic Church.
I unfortunately know exactly what you mean.
I knelt, I stood, I knelt, I stood, I knelt, I stood. Yeah, it didn't go in any order. Yeah, he was like winging it. I mean, really winging it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think I can't even remember. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what order. And there was, I mean, M-Hog was there. Roger was there.
Oh, wow.
Kristen, what's her amp guard name?
Oh, Lyndon?
Lyndon was there.
Yeah.
So we had knights that flew in from all over.
Oh, wow.
So he was like just every which way. So I asked him, I'm like, I know you weren't being disrespectful to me by no means. I know you love me. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm a little confused. And he said he had to do my knighting the same way that his knight did his knighting. And that's how it was going to be, that I was to be knighted the same way that his knight did his knighting. And I busted out in tears. I lost it, just boo-hooed. But the other thing is he took my buffeting. He would not let me take my own buffeting.
That's what Tarjay did for Pat as well, because Pat was injured at that time. He hurt himself really badly.
Pat got knighted. Stinkfoot got knighted with a walker.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. He had all of his like household and fighting company belt favors all around the walker.
Yeah, it was great.
Yep. It was cool. Blinged out. It was. And do you remember how Slofu got belted?
No, I don't.
He threw a Gatorade at Pat at Sir AMC. He threw a Gatorade bottle at Sir AMC. I wasn't even there, and I know that.
He's lucky to be alive.
Stinkfoot told him to throw a bottle at AMC, and he did. That's how he got his belt.
There's no way. There's no way that I would do that.
It was empty.
I don't care. I don't care.
I know. I'm surprised he's still living too.
Yeah.
He had to get in his car and leave after that.
Yeah.
No, I think he had armed guards.
I was going to say, AMC is the type of person that you will one day, days, weeks, or months from that incident, wake up, and she'll be standing over your bed, and it'll be like the scene from V for Vendetta. You know, will it hurt? I injected you before you woke up. Thank you.
Hey, she's my idol.
She's awesome.
One day in my amp guard career, I will be just like Sir AMC.
You know, with all this,
I look up to her.
With all this, I'm going to do it like my knight did it. Flo called me the other day because I recently got my masterhood, and he said, you know, how do you want your ceremony? You know, if you get knighted, how do you want this to go? And I said, you just do whatever you want. I said that to Flo. I've made a mistake. I just realized I messed up bad.
Yeah, no takesy backsies.
Hey, no,
either.
Flo, we need to talk.
No take backs.
No, I'd like to talk, please.
Yeah.
Nope.
You can talk all you want. I don't care.
No.
Okay.
It would be just like his.
Oh yeah, great. Sir Flo, I called you Sir Flo, and you're not knighted yet. Everyone heard that, didn't they? Pat, you're talking using your outside voice. Oh,
I told Cabbage. He said, I want a classy knighting, and I said, classy, we can do that. So I'll have someone bring up like 2 wooden chairs, and we'll sit there with some stogies and a highball of whiskey. And do the whole ceremony, you know, with us leaning back in the like smoking jackets. Yeah, fedoras.
Fedoras and smoking jackets.
You could just do like a Boston Legal end of episode.
I regret my choices.
On the port.
Yeah.
See, I watched that show.
I would like to talk about that a little more after the podcast, maybe, please.
Well,
But,
Squire.
yes.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so I had a whole range of emotions at that for my whole career so far. And that was with all of those people that I looked up to. I mean, talking about Rackus real quick, when you talked me into being the quick, and I had M-Hog and I had Goldwyn and I had all those people cheering me on being the quick. And then here is M-Hog at my knighting. I mean, and then to have someone taking my buffet line, even though I wanted it, he would not let me have my own buffet line. How can that be topped with my next knighting is I'm a little nervous that, but I'm very excited with that too. And I mean, it's at a day battle, so it's going to be outside and in Florida.
Yeah.
No, it's spring, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Just the 90% humidity throughout the day.
We're not, it won't be too bad. But
Okay,
the one really neat thing is I invited my mom.
Oh, that's cool.
And because it's going to be here, my sister's bringing her to be at my knighting. And without getting too emotional, I mean, that's going to touch my heart. That will be the one thing that will be the topper to this knighting.
That's awesome. How do you guys feel about having your parents at your knighting? Just
nope.
No.
Yep. I mean, mine asked. My mom straight said this. She's like, I took you to the hospital for enough broken bones that I think I deserve to be there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I told her no. Do you want me to? I'll let your mom know when your knighting is going to
be. Only if it's in Florida. For reasons.
I think that's I think that's really cool. I think that it's cool to have a bit of family there and be able to, I don't know, to have a connection like that. I've seen a lot of people that have had their family at their knighting. I know that Puddin, when he had his knighting, had
Zeb
his whole family come out. Zeb, yeah. Zeb's,
I mean, it's a lifetime achievement. Like
is.
The people in your life should maybe be able to see it.
Yeah, agreed.
Nah. No, I'm kidding.
Jeff said, nah.
Well, Squire, thank you so much for coming on. Early congratulations on the second belt. It is well deserved.
Thank you very much.
If there is anything that you would like to advertise, we will include it in the comments. Any upcoming events for the Kingdom, those will all be in the comments of this video here. I want to make an extra special thank you to all of our Patreons and everyone who supports the channel in any way. If you'd like to support us in all of the gear that we seem to go through rather quickly, links to that will be in the description below.
Listen, at one point we were thinking about using the money for bail for somebody.
Yep.
It was a whole thing.
That is not a lie.
The somebody was me. That's a different story. Look out for a hammer time or something.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Did you have anything that you wanted to leave us with?
I would say that our August event, Squire Bolt, who is also in your belted family, will be knighted.
Oh, that's cool.
Good for him.
Yeah.
At the Kiwanis Club. I just don't know the date off the top of my head, but if you go to the Neverwinter page, Facebook page, it should be on there.
Okay.
Tom has already announced the dates. I just don't remember.
Okay.
It's our in-ring coronation.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, for anybody listening, you can find that info, because I will remember to put it there in the description down below.
Where did you get a knife?
Don't worry about things like that.
I had it on me. I was cleaning up from under my fingernails.
Thank you for coming on.
I need to talk to Vidalia.
Thank you for coming on, and we're going to go ahead and roll the outro before this gets any worse.
My fingernails are clean. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube or Spotify to get notified about new episodes. And make sure to follow us on Facebook for announcements and more. How is that gross?